Should we start to get concerned that we're seeing really big layoffs, especially when it comes to white-collar jobs? And I'm talking about UPS and Amazon here, both 14,000 layoffs in white-collar workers.
So we have been in a job market that economists have called low hire, low fire for a year or two now. And I think we're starting to move into an environment that's more low hire, some fire. So we're starting to see layoffs tick up to where they were compared to pre-pandemic levels. And the fact that we are starting to see more of those layoffs and we are seeing hiring still at a pretty sluggish rate perhaps indicates that we are going to see the unemployment rate rise a little bit. We are going to see some more weakening in the job market. And so I do think that some of these announced layoffs are signs of a trend of the job market continuing to slow.
All right. So you say we're in a low hire, low fire environment. And in fact, you say the equilibrium in the job market has changed quite significantly. You say to keep us at equilibrium back in 2023, we needed to add 230,000 jobs every month. And now you say it's just 30,000. What has changed that the number has changed that dramatically?
Well, the growth in the labor supply has really come down, and a large factor behind that is immigration. So in the last few years, we had seen that immigration was contributing significantly to the growth in the available supply of workers. And then, of course, with the current administration's crackdown on immigration, that source of new workers isn't really available. And in fact, we are actually losing some of those workers as well. And so the quote unquote break even level of jobs growth is much lower now. And on the one hand, that does mean that maybe 30, 40,000 jobs is actually being added is actually a healthy quote unquote number, or it's an imbalanced number. But that does mean that the Fed has less room for error as it tries to navigate the soft landing, because it's unclear whether the decline in jobs growth we're seeing is more driven by labor demand or labor supply.
All right. One thing that people worry about is AI taking jobs, of course. I want to play this soundbite from Jensen Huang, of course, the NVIDIA CEO. He was on Power Lunch yesterday, and get your take.
I think this idea that AI is going to take jobs is going to change everyone's job. That's for sure. But I think it's going to make companies more productive. We're more productive today because of AI. We're hiring more people.
So what do you think? Does Jensen Huang, does he have his finger on the pulse of what's really going on, that it's not a job destroyer, it's a job shifter?
I think that's largely correct. So when we talk about new technologies, economists usually say that technologies replace tasks. They don't necessarily replace entire jobs. So you think about like a washing machine, for example. A washing machine is a great tool. It's really good at being able to, well, do laundry, wash clothes, but it still hasn't quite figured out how to get the clothes into the washer or get them out. So when we think about technologies, absolutely it will have the ability to significantly change how we tackle work, how we do work, what skills are important. But when we're actually talking about replacing jobs wholesale, that becomes a little bit harder to say. When we look at the economy right now, there isn't really strong evidence that AI is replacing a ton of jobs. And in fact, the impact seems to be a little bit more modest right now. You've got to remember that LLMs only really came out about 3 years ago. And so most businesses are experimenting with AI right now. But in terms of actually fully replacing jobs, that's still pretty early days to be seeing an impact like that.
You know, Daniel, you're really echoing some of the sentiment that I heard from the MIT's executive director of their Center for Transportation and Logistics. I was talking to him more about the layoffs at Amazon on the operations side and how AI could play an impact there. And he said something very similar, that AI performs a task, and that task is part of a larger job. So AI does the task, but in general, there's going to be tasks left over that AI can't do, and that has the potential to create new jobs. So we've heard a lot of people who are on the AI economy say something similar, that we're going to see new jobs created. Could these tasks be reorganized into new jobs? And would they be for these white-collar workers, or would they be for other types of workers?
It's a great question, and I think that we should have a little bit of humility in terms of what the impact is actually going to be, right? Again, these LLMs are still very, very novel. There's still not a lot of certainty about what they're going to be able to do. If we think back to maybe a year or two ago, the things that LLMs couldn't do then are things that they're starting to get better at now. So I do think that there is a lot of uncertainty about what skills are going to be important in the future, what tasks humans are going to be good at. I will say that generally speaking, humans are better at communicating with other humans, right? That relationship building, those in-person interactions are something that AI is not really going to be able to replace in the short term. So even though it might be good at certain kind of like writing tasks or that sort of thing, like it might not necessarily be able to replace the more human emotional element.